Some breaking news out of Green Bay on trade deadline day. For the second year in a row, the Packers are trading away one of their defenders. It was just announced that the Green Bay Packers are sending veteran Preston Smith to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, what they're getting back for Preston Smith has yet to be announced. Hopefully that comes out as I'm making this video. But Preston Smith was a trade candidate on the video I released last week, and it made a lot of sense to shop Preston Smith on this trade deadline. Some of the reasons it made sense to shop Preston Smith, not only were the Packers starting to cut his snaps due to the lack of production in 2024, but Preston Smith's cap hit in 2024 was the 5th highest on the team, and in future years, that only was going to go up. It was a $14.1 million cap hit in 2024. That would go up to $17.5 in 2025 and $18.2 in 2026. Preston Smith was already an aging 32-year-old defensive end that was seeing a dip in production. Now, Smith's cap hit of $13.9 million will remain on the Packers' salary cap for 2024. They're not really going to save much money from 2024, but where they do save money is, of course, in 2025 and 2026, and it's the majority reason why I think that this move happened. Before the Preston Smith trade, the Packers were set to have $53 million in 2025. After the trade, they're set to have $70.5 million. Same goes for 2026. They were set to have $49 million, and post-trade, they're now set to have $67 million. When you take a look at the Packers' stats in terms of defensive pressures this year, Preston Smith was all the way down tied for 5th on the entire team with 10 pressures, tied with Kingsley Enagbare, and that's with 60 more snaps than Kingsley Enagbare. He also saw more snaps than Carl Brooks, and Brooks had more pressures. Now, Preston Smith did have 3 sacks, but we also saw Devontae Wyatt with 3 sacks and more pressures in almost half of the snaps. Kenny Clark with more pressures, albeit no sacks. And of course, Rashawn Gary with the same amount of sacks and 20 pressures with slightly more snaps. And as I mentioned earlier, a big reason why I saw Preston Smith being a trade candidate at this deadline, when you take a look at his snap share over the weeks in Philly, he had the most snaps at 54, and every week it seemingly has declined. Now, it has jumped in some weeks due to the Packers having more plays on defense, but there has been a steady downtrend in terms of Preston Smith's snap share. Most recently against the Detroit Lions, it was the lowest it's been all season with only 21 snaps. And when I saw this snap share after the game here against Detroit, I almost figured it was bound to happen, that Preston Smith was going to be dealt on trade deadline day. Now, Preston Smith was really known to be a solid run-defending defensive end, and they've already been replacing his snaps with Lucas Van Ness, and in my opinion, he's been replacing those snaps pretty well, at least against the run. We've yet to see Lucas Van Ness be very efficient in terms of a pass rusher yet, but more importantly, I also think this means in the next hour or by the time this video releases, the Packers could be looking to go then trade for another edge rusher. And a couple of the players that I have my eyes on, more importantly, one is Azeez Ojulari, a player we've been talking about the past couple of weeks. This tweet came out a little bit earlier saying teams are trying to see what Giants are going to do with Azeez Ojulari. New York is looking to get a high 5 pick or a late 4th rounder per sources, and I think that would be well worth it. Ojulari, a 24-year-old player on the end of his rookie contract, this season already has 21 pressures and 7 sacks. That sack amount would lead all defenders on the Packers defense currently. I think another player they could be targeting is Arden Key from the Tennessee Titans, a 28-year-old edge rusher with 19 pressures and 4 sacks on the season. Now again, I'm not sure on the trade compensation as I'm making this video. As this video is nearing its end, I likely won't know that until after I'm rendering it and uploading it, but I don't expect it to be anything significant, maybe a 6th round pick, something of that sort in a swap for Preston Smith, who has a pretty heavy contract as an aging veteran. So I really don't expect the Packers to get much back here, but the value is in the fact that they're going to save a lot of money in 2025, a lot of money in 2026, and we've already seen a massive dip in production, moving to this 4-3 for a 32-year-old Preston Smith. And it was just confirmed that his contract is remaining the same, so the Packers will be saving that amount of money that I showed you previously in this video. So I really, at this point, don't expect the Packers to be getting much at all in return for Preston Smith. At this point, it could even be a 7th round pick. But again, you're getting rid of a big contract for the future, and it frees up more money to maybe go get a younger free agent or trade for someone right now like Azeez Ojulari, which then you could extend at the end of this season where his rookie contract ends. So as I was editing this, just wanted to chime in because it's official. The Packers will be receiving a 7th round draft selection in 2025 for Preston Smith. And before you get mad about that, look at the salary cap numbers I mentioned in this video. The fact that the Steelers are taking on that entire contract is why the Packers didn't receive a higher pick. Plus, Preston Smith is an aging young 32-year-old edge defender. In my opinion, I really like this move for Green Bay in terms of a salary cap standpoint. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. He was my first trade candidate that the Packers could trade away in my video last week. It made a lot of sense, and I'm for it. I just think the Packers need to go younger at edge and also get rid of that contract that they gave him. I thought it was a pretty wild contract when they gave it to him at the age that he was at, so I'm glad the Packers were able to dump his contract, but I also wish the best for Preston Smith. He was a great Green Bay Packer. I loved his mentality, a great team leader, and I hope he does well in Pittsburgh, but it was the time for the Packers to move on. I appreciate you guys coming by to the video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like down below. Go click subscribe if you happen to be a new viewer. I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.